So question 13. A garden has a flower bed in the corner. A diagram of the garden is shown below. So sometimes what you look for is triangles or different types of shapes, but this one is a right angle triangle and also a rectangle there. So when you see a right angle triangle, it's either area, it could be Pythagoras, it could be trigonometry or anything like that. So always be wary when you see right angle triangles. So question 13A, it said calculate the area of the flower bed. So the flower bed is a right angle triangle, but when we're calculating the area, it's going to be area is equal to the base times height divided by 2. So basically all we're doing is multiplying these two numbers together, 4.8 and 3.6, and then we divide it by 2. And now we should get 8.64, which is the area, 8.64 meters squared. There is a small fence, for question B, there is a small fence along the line AB separating the flower bed from the grass area. How long is the fence? So we still involves the right angle triangle. You can see they're wanting the length of A to B. So you can see there's two sides here, and it looks as we're going to be using Pythagoras for this because it's a right angle triangle. So whenever you're looking for the hypotenuse, you just square and square those two sides and add them together. So we've got x squared equals 4.8 squared plus 3.6 squared. We find that is 36, and then we square root it at the end. So square root of 36, which would mean that it would be 6 meters for the length of A to B. Question 14 is a percentage change question. So you can see it's last year a company spent a total of £2,400 on advertising. This year they spent £2,796. What was the percentage increase in the spending on advertising? So when you get a question, always look for when it says percentage increase, percentage decrease, percentage profit, percentage loss. What you do is you try to find out what the increase was. So you have 2,796 take away 2,400. So it has increased by 396. Next step is you put the 396 on top of the fraction, and underneath you put the starting value, which is 2,400. And now you've got a fraction here, and to change that fraction into a percentage, we times it with 100. And we should get 16.5%. So that means it's increased by 16.5%. Question 15 is an algebra question. So it says solve the equation p plus 15 equals 2 brackets 4p take away 3. Okay, so the first things first is you basically expand the bracket from this one. So it would be p plus 15 equals, and then it's 2 times 4p is 8p, and 2 times minus 3 is minus 6. So the next step is, I just want to rearrange it. I have the bigger p here, which is 8p, and I want it over the other side here. So I can actually flip this whole equation around. So you'll see in the next step here is, it'll be 8p take away 6 is equal to p plus 15. So it's kind of flipped around. Now I've got the bigger p on the left hand side, I can start to rearrange things. So what I want is all the p's on the left hand side and all the numbers on the right. So the next one is 7p equals 21. What I've done is I've taken away p on the right hand side. So I have to take away p on the left hand side. So 8p take away p is 7p. Then to get rid of this minus 6, I've had to add 6. So I have to add 6 to both sides. So when I add 6 to the left side, the minus 6 disappears, and 15 add 6 is 21. So the next one is I have to divide by 7 both sides to get rid of this 7 where the p is. There. So what we've got is 7 divided by 7 is is 1, so we're left with P, and 21 divided by 7 is 3. Okay, for question 16, this is a compound interest question. So you see 16, it says, Best Bank offers 3-year investment account with a fixed compound interest rate of 1.75% per annum. Mr. Lucas invests £8,000 in this account. What is the value of his investment after 3-year period? So what you're looking for in questions like this is when it says compound interest, because it follows the same steps over and over again normally. There's a couple of ways of doing this. You can have a formula to do it with, but in other cases you can do it step by step. So for this one I'm doing it step by step. So the first thing that you would do is basically do 8,000, which is your initial investment, and you get 1.75%. So you can represent that as 1.75 over 100 and key it into your calculator, and you should get £140. So that's your interest for that one. And then we add it on. So we take that interest and we add it on to 8,000, which then becomes 8,140. So that is how much he has in his account after the first year. So for the next one is we carry that forward into the second year. So it's 8,140. And we do exactly the same thing as we did in the previous steps. We get 1.75%. So 1.75 over 100. Key it into a calculator. You should get 142.45 or £142.45. That is your interest for the second year, and you add that on. And what you should have after 2 years in your investment and your account should, or your account should have £8,282.45. It's exactly the same steps again, because remember in the question it says 3-year period. So we're on to our third year. So we take £8,282.45 and we carry it forward into the third year. Do exactly the same steps, 1.75 over 100, get your interest and then add it on again. So when we add this on here, we get £8,427.39. That would be what he has in account after 3 years with compound interest. So for question 17, at a concert, 40% of the audience are children. 1/3 of the rest of the audience are men. There are 120 women in the audience. Work out the total number of people in the audience. So first of all, we want to find out the percentages of each. We know that 40% is children. Okay, so that's good. So we'll look at 1/3 of the rest of it. So if we look at the next one, it's 1/3, so 60% would be the rest. If 40% are children, 60% would be the rest of them. So 1/3 of the rest, and it would be 20%. So it's 60 divided by 3, which is 20. So 20% are men. So if 40% are women and 20% are men, we can take that away from 100% and find that 40% are women out of that. So there we've got a list here of what you should have. 40% are children, 20% are men, and 40% are women. So for the next step, it's just a reverse percentage question. So what we take is 40% is 120. You can see there are 120 women in the audience. So we worked out that 40% of them were women. So we know that 40% is equal to 120. What we can do, there's different ways of doing this one, but I've just got 1%. So you divide by 40, 120 divided by 40 is 3. And then we find out what 100% is. So we times it by 100. That means that in total, the total number of people in the audience would be 300. And for question 18, a cylindrical tank has a diameter of 80 centimetres and a height of 150 centimetres. So it's just basically saying what's on this diagram here. Calculate the volume of water the tank can hold when full. give your answer correct to the nearest litre. So first of all, you need to find the volume of this cylinder. So what you've got is the formula for the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared, which is the area of the circle or the cross section of this, and times it by the length. Sometimes it can be times by height. So this is basically your length here. You've got pi r squared, so it's pi times 40 squared. The 40 comes because 80 is the diameter, so 40 would be the radius. So pi times 40 squared times 150. And then you just key it into your calculator, you should get a number like that. Try and keep the number as long as possible, just so you can get a wee bit more accuracy out of your answer. And then we just bring this to here, yeah? So, next step is, this is the volume of that tank in centimetres cubed. You need to know you need to remember this conversion. So the conversion is 1 litre is equal to 1,000 centimetres cubed. Because the question is asked to the nearest litre, you have to use this conversion. So for the next step is, you can see that it's centimetres cubed here, and you're dividing that by 1,000 to get how many litres that is. So it's 753.982 litres, which because it says correct to the nearest litre, we now round that up to 754 litres. So question 19, it says Peter, John and Matthew are 3 brothers. Peter is 10 years old, John is X years old, Matthew is a year younger than twice John's age. The mean number of ages is 7 years. Work out John's age. So first of all, we want to kind of write these ones here. So we're kind of writing that Peter is 10. John is X years old. And Matthew is 2 times twice John's age, and he's a year younger there as well. So we're taking away. So Matthew is a year younger than twice John's age. So a year younger and twice John's age there. So these are the ones that we're going to be working with. So the first things first is to get the mean of things is basically add them up and divide by how many there is. So you can see there's Peter, there's John, and there's Matthew. And so there's 3 people, so we're dividing it by 3. And because I've got 7 here, it's because they give you the mean. The mean of their ages is 7 years. The next step is you just substitute everything that you know. So Peter is 10, John is X years old, and Matthew is 2x minus 1. So you add them all together and then divide by 3 and equal 7. Top half of the fraction then you can cancel or simplify it down. So you can see x plus 2x is 3x, 10 take away 1 is 9. And we've got now got an equation, an algebra equation there that we can easily work out. So we take this 3 and we multiply both sides by 3 to get rid of this. So that 3 goes away from the left hand side, and it becomes 7 times 3 is 21. Then the next step is we take away 9 from both sides. So we're left with 3x when we take away 9 on the left hand side, and when we take away 9 on the right, it ends up being 12. Divide by 3 both sides, we get x is equal to 4. And that's the answer to that one.